All right, strap in because this deep dive is going to get pretty technical.
Oh yeah, we're going deep on this one.
We're talking golf biomechanics.
The real nitty-gritty.
You sent me some webinars featuring some pretty big names like Dr. Phil Cheatham and Terry Rawls.
Some of the best in the biz.
And they're all using 3D analysis from SportsBox AI to break down the swing.
Pretty cutting-edge stuff.
So basically, our mission today is to figure out what this tech can really tell us about the golf swing.
And how it's changing the game for coaches and players.
Exactly. It feels like we're on the verge of something big.
Definitely a game changer.
So to kick things off, can we just back up for a second and make sure we're all on the same page?
Sure thing.
Can you break down the difference between kinematics and kinetics?
I think people get those mixed up all the time.
I know I do.
It's really not that complicated, though. Kinematics is basically the what of the motion.
Okay, so like what we actually see happen.
Exactly. We're talking swing path, lottie angles, clubhead speed.
Basically, all those visual aspects we can observe and measure.
Exactly. Now, kinetics is the why behind all those movements.
Okay, so the underlying forces.
Precisely. Ground reaction forces, muscle activation, impact.
The engine behind the swing.
That's a great way to put it.
So to tie this back to the webinars, SportsBox AI is mostly focused on kinematics.
Right. It's all about those precise 3D measurements of the body's movement.
And they can track some pretty amazing details with those sensors.
Oh, yeah. They can pinpoint all sorts of key positions and movements.
Like how much the pelvis rotates,
Spine angle at address.
even wrist angle at impact.
It's incredible how much data they can capture.
It really is. And one of the things that stood out to me from these webinars was the discussion about sway.
Sway.
It seems counterintuitive, but they're saying it's actually crucial for generating power.
Yeah, the old sway debate.
We're always told to stay centered.
Right, that's kind of the traditional thinking.
Dana Dahlquist really challenges that.
He's not afraid to shake things up.
He talks about this thing called sway gap, which is the difference in sway between the chest and pelvis.
It's not about eliminating sway altogether, it's about optimizing it.
And that can vary from player to player.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own unique swing.
He uses Bryson DeChambeau as an example.
Oh yeah, Bryson's a great case study.
His swing is so unconventional, but he generates so much power.
And his sway pattern is a big part of that.
What's crazy is that even tiny changes in sway gap, we're talking fractions of an inch,
Tiny adjustments can make a huge difference.
can have a huge impact on ball flight and consistency.
It's all about those little details.
So we've busted the myth about sway.
Myth busted.
What other golf truths are we going to challenge today?
What else you got?
Well, I kept hearing about the X Factor stretch.
Oh, the X Factor. Yeah, that's a big one.
And I'm not talking about the boy band.
No, we're talking golf here.
So remind me, what exactly is the X Factor in the golf swing?
So it's basically the difference in rotation between the chest and pelvis at the top of the backswing.
Like that coiled spring feeling.
Exactly. And the stretch part refers to how much that difference increases during the downswing.
Okay, so it's not just about how much separation you create at the top.
It's about how you uncoil.
It's about how that separation evolves.
Right. And a bigger X Factor stretch often means more clubhead speed.
More power.
Exactly. Think of a guy like Xander Schauffele.
He bombs it.
He's got a huge X Factor stretch.
It's amazing how much these small details matter.
Absolutely. And that's where 3D analysis really shines.
You can really see those nuances.
Yeah, we can analyze the numbers, look at the sequence, and start to figure out how to optimize each player's swing.
Speaking of sequence, there's another concept that kept popping up.
Hit me with it.
Kinematic sequencing.
Oh yeah, the order of operations.
Sounds complicated.
It's actually pretty simple. It's just the optimal order in which different parts of the body should fire to generate the most speed and power.
Like a chain reaction.
Exactly.
And they kept emphasizing the role of the hips.
The hips are the engine.
They initiate the downswing.
Right, the pelvis leads the way, followed by the chest, then the lead arm, and finally the club.
When it all works together, it's beautiful.
It's just like a symphony.
But what happens if that sequence gets disrupted?
You lose power, consistency,
Everything falls apart.
pretty much.
What are some common things that can mess up that sequence?
One of the big ones is casting the club.
Casting.
Yeah, it's when you release the wrist angle too early in the downswing.
And that throws everything off.
Big time.
But the cool thing is that SportsBox AI can actually visualize that sequence.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
So coaches can see exactly where a player's timing might be off.
It takes all the guesswork out of it.
And we're back, still geeking out over golf biomechanics.
It's pretty mind-blowing stuff, right?
Totally. We've seen how this 3D analysis can uncover all these hidden details in the swing.
Things we never would have noticed before.
But what I'm really excited about is how coaches are using this data to actually improve their teaching.
Yeah, that's where the real magic happens.
It's not just about collecting data, it's about using it to help players reach their full potential.
It's about making a difference on the course.
Exactly. And one of the big takeaways from these webinars is that there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all approach to coaching.
Definitely not cookie-cutter stuff anymore.
Everyone's swing is different.
Unique like a snowflake.
What works for one player might not work for another.
Got to find what works for each individual.
So how are coaches using this tech to personalize instruction?
There's some really cool examples in the webinars.
Yeah, like Chris Mason, he coaches on both the LPGA and PGA tours.
He's worked with some of the best.
And he was comparing the swings of Siwoo Kim and Brendan Steele.
Two totally different styles.
Right.
Yeah.
Siwoo's got that powerful rotational swing.
Yeah, he really goes after it.
And Brendan's swing is more controlled, more textbook.
But they're both successful on tour.
Which proves there's no single right way to swing a club.
It's all about finding what works for you.
So what did Chris uncover when he analyzed their swings with SportsBox AI?
Well, one of the big differences was in how they use their lower bodies.
Okay, that's interesting.
Siwoo generates a lot of power from his hips and torso rotation.
So he's really using that kinematic sequencing we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
And Brendan's more stable in his lower body?
Yeah, he relies more on arm speed.
So totally different approaches.
But both effective in their own way.
And that's how Chris tailors his coaching.
He works with each player's strengths.
He doesn't try to force them into a mold.
It's about optimizing their individual style.
It's like having a custom-fit site.
Exactly. And that data-driven approach takes away so much of the guesswork.
It's about making informed decisions.
Based on objective data.
And this personalized approach is especially important when it comes to swing direction.
Ah, yes, the eternal struggle.
Slices, hooks.
We've all been there.
I'm always trying to fix my slice.
It's the golfer's curse.
And Terry Rowles, who's another expert from the webinars.
Yeah, Terry's great.
He really breaks down the mechanics of swing direction.
He gets into all the nitty-gritty details.
He talks about sway gap, attack angle.
All these factors that influence where the ball goes.
It's like a puzzle.
And he even gets into these concepts like face openers and face closers.
I have no idea what those are.
So it basically comes down to how the club face is oriented throughout the swing.
Okay, I'm listening.
Some golfers open the club face early in the backswing.
And then they have to close it coming into impact.
Right. Others do the opposite.
To close it early and then open it up.
Exactly. And those tendencies can lead to all sorts of problems.
Pushes, pulls.
The dreaded slice and hook.
My nemesis.
But what's really cool is that Terry shows how these tendencies are often related to really subtle things.
Like what?
Grip, setup, body movement.
Stuff you wouldn't even notice without 3D analysis.
It's like having X-ray vision for your swing.
So you can actually see what's causing those misses.
And then you can start making adjustments.
Not just Band-Aid solutions.
But real fixes that address the root of the problem.
Okay, I'm sold.
3D analysis is a game changer.
But where does it go from here? What's the future of this tech?
Oh man, the possibilities are endless.
Give me a glimpse into the future.
One of the big areas is integrating 3D analysis with other data sources.
Like what?
Launch monitors, for example.
You mean those things that track ball flight?
Exactly. They measure club data and ball data.
So you combine that with the biomechanical data from SportsBox AI.
And you get this holistic picture of the swing.
The whole enchilada.
You see how your body moves and how that affects the ball flight.
Cause and effect.
Precisely.
And there's this coach, Jonathan Moore.
He's doing some really cool stuff.
He coaches the Oklahoma State golf team.
They've got an amazing program.
And he's using this integrated data approach.
Biomechanics plus ball flight data.
To help his players understand that connection.
Between their movements and the ball flight.
So they can see how a certain sway pattern might lead to a fade or a draw.
Exactly. It takes all the mystery out of it.
That must be so helpful for learning.
It's incredibly powerful feedback.
And it's not just about fixing problems.
It can also be used for speed training.
Speed training?
Yeah, everyone wants to hit the ball farther.
I wouldn't say no to more distance.
Who would? And SportsBox AI has teamed up with Super Speed Golf,
They're the speed training experts.
and they've developed some really innovative programs.
Using 3D analysis.
They analyze your swing mechanics, find areas for improvement,
And then give you drills to increase clubhead speed.
while maintaining good technique.
It's like having a personal trainer for your swing.
It's all about pushing the limits of performance.
And it's just the beginning.
Imagine what we'll be able to do in the future.
Okay, my brain is overloaded.
It's a lot to take in, right?
We've talked about personalized coaching, swing direction, injury prevention, speed training.
The whole gamut of golf biomechanics.
But before we wrap things up,
There's one more piece to the puzzle.
we need to talk about the mental game. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been knee-deep in golf biomechanics.
Drowning in data almost.
All this amazing tech.
3D analysis, changing the game.
But there's one thing we haven't talked about yet.
We've been so focused on the swing.
A mental game.
That's huge, right?
You can have the perfect swing.
But if your head's not in the game,
It's all for nothing.
pressure, focus, nerves
That 18th hole, chance to win.
makes all the difference.
And it's interesting because the webinars didn't really touch on that.
No, they were all about the mechanics.
But it makes me wonder.
Could we use this tech to analyze the mental game too?
What do you mean?
Like combine 3D analysis with brainwave activity
oh,
or heart rate variability?
see how your brain reacts under pressure?
Exactly.
That would be incredible.
Imagine training the body and the mind.
Learning to stay calm, focused.
Like those unflappable pros.
You never crack.
It could revolutionize performance.
Not just in golf.
Think about the possibilities.
Okay, that's a whole other deep dive.
We'll have to save that for another day.
So let's bring it back to our listeners.
The golfers out there.
What can they take away from all this?
Well, first of all,
3D analysis can be a game changer.
seeing your swing in 3D.
Understanding your flaws.
Working with a coach to fix them.
It's like having a personalized roadmap.
To a better game.
And for coaches,
This tech can elevate your teaching.
help your students see and feel the concepts.
Objective measurement, not just intuition.
It's win-win.
Absolutely.
So 3D analysis,
It's not just a fad.
it's the future of golf instruction.
It's enhancing the art of coaching.
Bringing precision and understanding. So as you head out to the course,
Remember, every swing
it's a chance to learn
to grow,
and most importantly,
to have fun.
thanks for joining us for this deep dive into golf biomechanics. Until next time, keep swinging.